This is an Evergreen Media Network studio production.
Honestly, without Treasure Coast Community Health, I think we'd be a much poorer community in terms of our health. We're always striving to fill the gap for everyone in the community, rich or poor.
Good afternoon and welcome to Community Conversations. We meet this time every week, and every week I have someone new to the program, usually. So there's the exception. This week I'm delighted to have Dr. David Moore here, the school superintendent for Indian River County, and we're going to talk about some of the great things that have been happening. It's been a while since you've been on. I think it was the beginning of the school year. So we're going to talk about what has been happening, and it's not about COVID for a change.
Yes. The last two times I've been on have been around COVID and then the opening of school. So I am glad to be back, Vicki, and talk about the great things that are happening in the school district of Indian River County.
Yeah. Now that we're into the second semester, whatever it's called after the holidays.
That's what it's called.
Is okay. I'm out of the loop a little bit. You just recently received an announcement of how we fared in this county compared to the state.
Yeah. So
drum roll, please.
Yeah. Thank you for setting that up. The state finally released its academic outcomes for the previous school year. Okay. And as you know, our state grades school districts as well as schools. So there are 14 A districts in the state of Florida.
Out of 65 counties?
Out of 67 counties.
Not that I'm counting. I wasn't born here. Sorry.
And of those 14 A's, 13 of them have historically always been an A. But for the first time in over 13 years, the school district of Indian River County has reclaimed its grade of an A.
Yay.
So we're super excited to celebrate that. And this is, as I said, this is last year's grade because it was a new assessment that was put into place this year. Took the state a little bit longer to kind of evaluate the outcomes to determine what the appropriate score would be. So the percent of A schools have improved, the percent of B's have improved. And when you look at that outcome from 18-19, and why I use 18-19 is because that was the last full year that wasn't impacted by the pandemic, and coincidentally, the last full year in which I wasn't here. So it gives us a great comparison in terms of our rate of improvement. And when you look, we went from 37th to 13th in the state of Florida, which is That's
phenomenal.
Yes, thank you. And it's the highest rate of improvement of all school districts in the state of Florida. So we are the most improved. When you look at other districts, what you find is most districts before the pandemic in 18-19 to where they sit in the 22-23 school year, they're pretty much where they were pre-post the pandemic. Where what you see different in our district is us just absolutely
leaping ahead,
going ahead. And I tell everyone, we should be proud, we should be celebrating. But as I've said in your show before, in looking at where Indian River County was in 18-19, it didn't make sense. We don't look at ourselves as being 37th of 67 in pretty much anything. So the reality is we deserve to be in the top 10. We're about 3 away. And where we are right now in our school year is really just kind of transitioning from the first half of the year to the second half of the year, as you were saying, really just looking at where our students sit, making sure principals have everything they need, teachers have everything they need to finish the year strong, because we want to maintain that A. It's not going to be easy.
Well, and it was not easy to get there. Can you talk about some of the things that you feel contributed to that?
Well, the very first thing was to ensure that we have a contract with our educators that allows them to have the time to plan to prepare their lessons. So we have a very different contract in Indian River County. We maximize planning with our teachers, which gives them the time that they need to create lessons to meet the needs of all kids. So that was one of the first things that we did. And then empowering our teachers with the appropriate resources was the second, making sure they have curriculum that is aligned to the standards, meets the complexity of the standards, while at the same time has the resources above the standard and below the standard. And what I mean by that, if you're a high achieving gifted child and you're in a third grade class, we want to accelerate you as well. We don't want to pull you down by teaching to the middle. And the same thing holds true for a student who's not yet to the standard in that third grade class. We want to pull them up to the standard. So we looked for resources that allow us to educate all children in a specific grade, and making sure that curriculum had the ability to differentiate that instruction to meet the needs of all of those students.
So people who aren't familiar with the current model that you all have in this district may jump to the conclusion that that has required additional manpower and it's costing the taxpayers more. Is that in fact what's happened?
Absolutely quite the opposite. So when you look at Indian River County in comparison to St. Lucie or Martin County, they assess their community a full millage and or a sales tax.
Okay.
A sales tax. Indian River County, we just have a half mil. So when you look at the amount of money spent per child, they are receiving significantly more than we receive, but we're the only A. So it is making sure you're building capacity. So the structure that we put in place was to front load the development and support. And we spend a lot of time investing in our teachers. So I think we've probably spoken before about the teacher crisis and making sure we have all of our positions ultimately staffed. And the truth is our number one strategy is to invest in the teachers that we currently have, give them the support that they need, make sure they feel welcomed, eliminate barriers and obstacles, get those things out of the way. So they ultimately come back in return. And that has been a great strategy for us, making sure we're keeping ourselves fully staffed. Our positions percent of positions open has been around 1% all year, which is
That's phenomenal.
It is teaching positions, and that is basically the where you'd want to be without such a crisis across the United States around hiring. So we're in a really good place.
And part of what I hear constantly is that emphasis, now that COVID is done, even though we've all perhaps gotten more used to having children at home than we did pre-COVID, really the attendance is a real issue that has helped this as well, that emphasis that every child needs to be in school every day that they possibly can.
Yep, and you'll hear me continue to talk about that. We want children in school each and every single day, and we want teachers in school each and every single day. And the reality is when a student is out, it impacts all of the other students that are in that class. It impacts the teacher. So making sure every day is a relevant, meaningful day for our students in our community. And then making sure we're communicating, whether it be through the teacher, the administration, the community as a whole, the system, that every day is important. That, when a kid says, because kids will be kids, right? Hey, or I'm not doing anything important today is, that can never be the reality. We only have 180 days to educate a child in that specific content or grade level. And we need to maximize every single moment that we have. Not just to maintain the grade of the school or the grade of the district, but to make sure that child can maximize his or her full potential.
Now, 100 years ago when my kids were in school.
Okay. I don't think it was that long, but
well,
okay.
Maybe not quite that long, but a long time ago. If the children needed to be out of school for a couple of days for a particular reason that we could forecast, we would send a note in and say, Johnny's not going to be able to be in school next Monday, Tuesday. Can you give us the assignments? Does that sort of thing still happen?
Absolutely, 100%. And if you're sick, the appropriate place to stay is home.
Don't spread those
because
germs.
It'll spread, and we have those little breakouts in elementary schools all the time. So
Okay.
We have a system in which all parents can access the grade book, and all students can access a system in which they could look at and gain their assignments through Focus, which allows them to look at the assignments, work on the assignments, turn in the assignments, all from from their home. So the communication that we have with our parents is absolutely, one click away. We have over 90% of our parents engaging in that communication system where they have the ability to go in, look at grades, and communicate with the teacher. So, and we do want to verify. A lot of times, specifically in secondary schools, if a student isn't there, we want to have that contact with the parent to make sure it's a legitimate absence. Because if the kid isn't in school, we want to make sure the parent knows that and can just validate, yep, he's homesick, or he's, went here or there. So we just want to make sure we're communicating that.
Well, I appreciate you going through that, because I know that we have a number of individuals that are still moving in to this county, and all school districts operate slightly differently. And as you say, our children aren't always the most reliable communicators of tools for parents. So it's really good. Do you do a new parent orientation of any kind?
So absolutely. At the beginning of every year, we have the opportunity for parents to come in, which is your typical open house. In 2 weeks, we're going to have something that is unique to our county. We do it at the beginning half of the year once, and the second half of the year, which is parent-teacher conferences. And what we do is during the entire week, we will not have school on Friday, but our teachers will work the equivalent of that day after school, conducting parent conferences in the evening when parents are not at work, or sometimes during the day to get those conferences in. So it's so important that we're connecting with parents. One of the things that we're really going to push on in this upcoming parent conference is academically with a state assessment where a child is in comparison to where they were last year. And a lot of times students don't take some of these assessments too seriously. But that information is so important for us because it helps us figure out exactly where we need to teach them. So there's some kids who are level 5, the highest level you can be, but on their mid-year assessment, they're not demonstrating that they're going to be a 5 again at the end of the year. So first of all, we want to make sure parents know that, because the fix there could be the parent saying, nope, take it again and give us 100%. And that allows us to maximize the time and resources to all of the kids and maximize the support for students who are still struggling.
I thought you were going to say it's a chance for parents to say, hand me your phone. It's 9 o'clock. Go to bed. Even if you don't fall asleep, I want you to rest so that you can get up, have a good breakfast, have a calm morning, and do your best on your test.
I tell you, that happens too. And, some of the things that we've done around our cell phone policy this year has drastically increased the amount of time kids are on task in classrooms.
Well, we're going to talk more about that after we take a short station break. So stay with us. We'll be back in a moment. Treasure Coast Community Health in-house pharmacies have the lowest prices in Indian River County, even lower than big box pharmacies. Taking your medication as prescribed leads to better health. Affordable medicine makes it easier. Treasure Coast Community Health patients can pick up medicine as they leave the office or use free delivery and mail order services. Pharmacists are always available to answer questions. Switch to TCCH pharmacies. Save money, stay healthy. 772-257-8224 and ask about our price match.
Sunshine Furniture brightens up your day.
At Sunshine Furniture, our 35,000 square foot showroom is filled with the largest selection of in-stock coastal furniture on the Treasure Coast. Dining and bedroom sets, occasional tables, sofas, sleeper sofas, love seats and chairs in all the latest styles and colors from Tommy Bahama, Lexington, Hooker, Riverside, Universal, Four Seasons, Braxton Color, and Capri. We're the outdoor furniture experts and have hundreds of styles of any patio furniture you need, including a gallery of Berlin Gardens and Pollywood. We're having a big January clearance sale, including all pictures, lamps, and accessories half price. Sunshine Furniture, 1295 US 1 in Vero Beach, next to Planet Fitness. Family owned and operated since 1991. Don't forget to visit our outlet and sales store directly across the street and visit our website at sunshinefurniturecasual.com.
Sunshine Furniture.
The Port St. Lucie High School Drama Department presents Footloose the Musical. The show is packed with hits such as Footloose, Let's Hear It for the Boy, Almost Paradise, and Holding Out for a Hero. Footloose features a cast of 50 performers and a live orchestra. The show runs January 25th through February 4th. Tickets are available now at Perkins Restaurant in Port St. Lucie, Vivid Salon and Spa in St. Lucie West, and Joy's Ice Cream in Fort Pierce. See why 250,000 people have seen one of our performances. More details at pslhsdrama.com.
And welcome back to Community Conversations. I'm Vicki Soule, the CEO of Treasure Coast Community Health, where we offer primary, medical, dental, behavioral health, lots of different healthcare solutions across 8 different locations. So we believe that access is really important, just as we're talking about school access a little bit today. Particularly important that everybody show up on time at school. We also make sure that people are able to get in for visits. So you're going to hear more about our expansion plans to make accessibility easier for all of you. We're also going to be transitioning to a software platform, an electronic health record, in April that will allow us two-way communication of your health records should you be at the hospital that uses an Epic system. So that will, again, increase communication, which should make all of our lives better and easier. So today, without more to do, I want to reintroduce Dr. David Moore, the Superintendent of Indian River County
That's it.
School District. And we've been talking about the Yahoo moment of receiving an A district rating from the state this year and keeping that A rating and what it takes. It's a lot of hard work on everyone's part. Certainly as a superintendent, you've been championing that cause with all of our school employees, particularly the teachers and their paraprofessionals. I hear about a lot of collaboration that is happening so that the teachers can support each other instead of feeling like islands on their own, making sure the curriculum is something we talked about. But also as we look forward between now, almost February, to the end of the school year, what efforts need to happen to maintain that? And before the break, you mentioned that in 2 weeks, you're going to be having the school teacher conferences in the old days, and I hear a little bit still, there doesn't seem to be an enthusiasm for parents to attend. It's sort of like, I know what's going on because I can get on the school portal, I hear from my student's teacher, and I hear from the student, my own child tells me they're doing wonderfully, so why would I give up an hour or two to go to their parent-teacher conference? As a superintendent, I know you have this answer, so please share it.
Specifically, really connecting with parents today, tomorrow, the remainder of this week, and engaging with them in regards to a very specific conversation. Okay. So, maintaining or looking at the grades on the technology that we have, the communication is significantly better.
Oh, the Datacom that I saw last week was phenomenal.
Data is our superpower. There's no two ways about it. So we're pushing home information to our parents to say, we want to talk specifically about a specific area. And it may be where you stand with the state assessment. It may be an area that's being observed that a teacher has concern, where just something on the grade book isn't the appropriate communication. It's an actual conversation. So we're really challenging our teachers to increase that communication by having authentic communications and a true partnership.
It's truly the difference that I can analyze between having a face-to-face conversation like this and doing it on Zoom. Yes, the words are the same, so you get some of the information, but body language, the things that you can't see or understand on Zoom limits that.
100%.
And so that to me is the analogy between all the information that you're getting as a parent now versus that face-to-face conversation. Even if you have an all-A student, and I was fortunate to have one year at least, it's different because there's always something that could be added to the conversation.
It opens your eyes as a parent as you hear about on a daily basis the experience that your son or daughter is involved in a classroom, and then going in and actually seeing that classroom. It just brings to life what the reality is and deepens the understanding of the focus in that classroom, the intentionality around the instruction, the kind of relationships that are being created, not just with the teacher, but with the other classmates.
That to me was always the most interesting.
Yeah, it changes the conversation around one specific thing. And most times it's a concern from a parent to the teacher or a teacher sharing a concern. But just the dialogue itself deepens the understanding from the parent's perspective regarding the teacher, and the teacher's perspective around getting a deeper understanding of the parents and that family structure, which helps them provide a better experience for that particular child. So they're coming up in 2 weeks. I would encourage anyone who's listening.
Is it a scheduled thing?
It is
still?
a scheduled thing. You'll get information, and we've been very intentional about norming it over across the entire calendar. One of the biggest issues or obstacles our principals share and teachers share is not being able to get off work. So I would encourage everyone in our community, if you are an employer, please give them that 30 minutes off, give them that hour off. It's an investment in our community, and it affords that parent every opportunity to connect, just like every parent should have. So if you're an employer, I can't think of a better reason to give an employee an hour off is to go and connect with their son or daughter's teacher.
I absolutely agree. And as an employer, I say that to my employees.
You heard it here first. You're all getting a day off.
That's right. Not the whole day.
No.
But I know that the employees have a reluctance to do that. They know they're a vital part of the organization they work for, but more importantly to them, they're concerned that that will be considered a black mark against their employment. And nothing's further from the truth.
Yeah, and coming from a very big city, that's one of the advantages that we have. Where the employer can say, hey, if you have a son or daughter and you have parent night this coming week, just let me know. Kind of take that burden or pressure off having to ask, because you are the employee and you obviously need the job. If the employer is the one who says, hey guys, just let me know and we'll work it out and I'll cover you so you can get there. Because at the end of the day, any employer wants their employees to be focused in on the work that's doing. And when you're concerned about your son or your daughter or what's happening, you can't focus in on whatever that job would be.
And our children are truly our future. I know that's an old cliche, but the reality is there are so many things that develop in a positive employment perspective by bringing these kids up the way they need to be.
The public education system exists to invest in our community's future. And the stronger our public education system is, the more prepared our next generation will be. And we want to kind of encourage them, go off, learn everything, go away to school if that's what you want to do, but come back to our community. And that's really the advantages of being in a small town. The relationships, the understanding of who we are as a community is at the forefront of this work. And we're completely invested in making sure in 15 years from now, 20 years from now, Indian River County is a better place because of today's public education system. Even
10 years from now, when we're all turning gray and looking for people to care for us, that's a really valid point. More now than ever before.
Absolutely.
So thank you for all the hard work you and all of your staff are doing. Thank you all for being present with us today. Next week, we're going to pivot to a different subject, but I hope you will take today's thoughts and concerns and talk to your friends and neighbors about this. There's a lot of different ways to support the educational system. The Moonshot Community Action Network that is run by the Learning Alliance shows strong support for our earliest learners way down in the toddler and up stages in learning how to read. Reading and excitement about learning is a lifelong process that can be affected by many, many people, not just the teachers or the direct parents and caregivers. So again, I would encourage you to do your very best to keep our community vibrant into the future. And we'll see you next week. Have a wonderful evening.